AJ's already been through the fire. He's already been through the embarrassment. He got stopped in a big show on MSG, came back, regained the championship, two-time champion, became a champion way before Fury, and he has all that going for him. He's already been through the fire. Fear doesn't exist.
Welcome to Jabs. Todd Grisham filling in for Chris Mannix. And Sergio, 4 years ago yesterday, it was Jacobs versus Mora part 1. How did it feel when that big body hit the canvas?
It didn't feel good, I'll tell you that. But it was a round of the year, and I got back up, Todd. So thanks for bringing that up.
I wasn't talking about when you got knocked down. I was talking about when you dropped Daniel Jacobs, something even Canelo Alvarez couldn't do.
That's much better. I like it, Todd. I got up. Round of the year, baby. Sports Illustrated.
Yeah! You still lost. We start with Anthony Joshua, who is on a potential collision course with Tyson Fury in 2021. When asked about his possible opponent, Joshua told Sky Sports, "I haven't got fear of Fury. Let me go in there and prove myself, show you who I am and what I can do." Sergio, should Joshua fear Fury?
No, there's nothing to fear but Fury himself. I like that one. I don't get it. I don't get it. Why should it be afraid or fearful or scared? Fury's taller, longer reach, better chin? No. AJ's already been through the fire. He's already been through the embarrassment. He got stopped in a big show on MSG, came back, regained the championship, two-time champion, became a champion way before Fury, and he has all that going for him. He's already been through the fire. Fear doesn't exist.
Why are the Southern people thinking Tyson Fury's this animal killer now just because of what he did in one fight against Deontay Wilder? Before that, remember, he was a feather duster, hit like a pillow. When he fought Derek Chisora, the fight was so boring that thousands of fans left early and they were booing him. When he beat Vladimir Klitschko, Sergio, it was probably one of the most boring heavyweight title fights in the history of the world. I mean, he's not Max Schmeling here. He had one good knockout performance against Deontay Wilder. There is nothing for Anthony Joshua to fear here, except perhaps losing.
Yeah, but when you beat the man, you become the man. And Deontay Wilder was the biggest puncher in boxing, and he outboxed them and he outbanged them. That's one. Klitschko, another huge puncher, and we saw what Tyson did to him. So that's the reason Fury is feared, or that's why he's the #1 heavyweight, because he's done that to the violent punchers. If you can stop and extinguish the power from these power punchers, that makes you the man.
Hey, the only person right now that needs to fear Tyson Fury is Drew McIntyre, because Fury's been posting about the WWE champion on his Instagram and Twitter, says he's going after the WWE title. So maybe Drew McIntyre needs to fear Tyson Fury, but AJ certainly doesn't. Moving on to Ryan Garcia versus Luke Campbell, which will be coming to Dazn in a few months. Fellow lightweight contender Devin Haney chimed in on this fight, telling Fight Hype, quote, "I just see Ryan beating him fairly easily. I really do. I see that happening." Do you agree with Devin Haney, Sergio?
Easily? No. I don't think anybody can beat Luke Campbell easily. I mean, he's fought Lomachenko, and that wasn't all that easy. I mean, Lomachenko still had his hands full, and that's a pound-for-pound #1 best fighter in the world. So, no, not easy, but it's going to be a fairly difficult fight. It's going to be a boxer versus somewhat a puncher. Ryan Garcia is becoming a puncher here and there, but what I'm more interested in seeing is how is Ryan Garcia going to track down Luke Campbell, because Luke Campbell's an excellent mover. He knows how to use the ring. He knows how to stay off the ropes. He knows how to have that amateur point system. He won a gold medal. It's very difficult to hit these guys solid with anything, especially if you're a young up-and-coming fighter that hasn't been to the big fights and been on the big stage with the championship elite level.
Yeah, Campbell went the distance with Lomachenko, and it was pretty competitive, certainly at times in that fight. He also lost a very close split decision against Jorge Linares. So we know what he can do against world-class level competition. We don't know what Ryan Garcia can do at that level, so it certainly won't be easy for him. And you know this very well, Sergio. You know Carlos Morales very well. That's the last time Ryan Garcia went the distance. That was a majority decision for him, and he was looking up at the clock. He seemed to lose focus. He didn't know what to do in the late rounds. What's he going to do with a world-class fighter like Luke Campbell when it comes to rounds 8, 9, 10?
No, no, I know Carlos Morales very well. That's a very cagey experience, very tough fighter. That's one of the hardest workers outside of Antonio Margarito that I've ever trained with. But that's why he had a hard time with him, and he probably overlooked them. But when you're talking about Luke Campbell, he lost to 2-3 division world champions in competitive fights. I mean, there's nothing to knock there. He hasn't become champion. I have no idea why. This man should be a multiple champion by now. But we're going to find out exactly what Ryan Garcia is made of, because Luke Campbell is the real deal on the high elite level. And we keep saying that about Garcia's opponents with Romero Duno and Francisco Fonseca and so on. But this is really the most difficult opponent up to date with Luke Campbell. It won't be easy.
And ever since switching to Eddie Reynoso after that Morales fight, Ryan Garcia has looked refreshed, re-energized, 4 straight early knockout wins for him. But again, we don't know what's going to happen when this goes into deep waters. I can't wait to find out. Speaking of Devin Haney, the young lightweight star says he's agreed to fight Gary Russell Jr. It'll be his first time back in the ring after shoulder surgery. Sergio, what are your expectations?
Well, this is the youngest champion in Devin Haney and the longest reigning champion with Gary Russell Jr. Russell Jr. is an Olympian. He has that pedigree. And speaking of Lomachenko, that's his only loss. So there's no shame losing to the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world. Here's what I'm concerned with: the disadvantage with the reach, the height. I think it's 4 inches in height that Haney has. 11 years younger, and he's gonna have a 7-inch reach advantage. And Gary Russell Jr. is moving up 2 weight divisions to fight him. So yeah, he's gonna have the experience, Russell is, but that's just way too much. That's way too many numbers for him to have to beat. And right now, Devin Haney, his star is ascending, man. He's doing everything right. The momentum's there. The hunger's there. As a matter of fact, it's Devin Haney calling out the champ, the longest reigning champ. So you gotta give the credit to the younger, fresher, bigger, natural 135 pounder here.
Yeah, I'm worried about Gary Russell Jr. He's fought only 5 times in the last 5 years. You sure he's going to be ready? He just fought in January, Sergio. Does he have enough time to prepare for Devin Haney? It's not even been 365 days.
Well, he fought in February for once, but whenever you're fighting once a year, that inactivity, it starts having a wear and tear on you, especially the older you get. Gary Russell Jr., I believe, is 32 years old. This is the time when that inactivity starts hitting. Not when you're young and fresh and cool and beating everybody. It's when you get into your 30s, which you forgot about long time ago, Todd, but that's when the inactivity kicks in.
Well, let me ask you this. I've seen a couple of polls and people talking about it. Who's the best young prospect in boxing today? Sergio, we've called a couple of Devin Haney fights. We've called Sergio Garcia. I've called Shakur Stevenson. Of course, there's Teofimo Lopez out there. There's Tank Davis. But when I give the eye test, the guys I've seen, Devin Haney just looks a level up. And in the ring against Gary Russell Jr., I think he's going to be more than comfortable, and I think he's going to win this fight relatively easy. Am I wrong?
Well, you're wrong about one name. Sergio Garcia is a golfer. Once again, you go with Sergio Garcia. I don't know where your mind's at, Todd, but you named a lot of great boxers and up-and-comers there. But a lot of those guys are champions. So who's the best young champion? I would say it's Devin Haney. At 21 years old, he's already a world champion, and he's calling out the big dogs. He wants the big names. To me, Devin Haney's your guy.
I thought I was your guy.
You were my guy, but you're too old for me now.